Imagine a world without the iPhone. No FaceTime, no App Store, no AirPods, no Apple Watch. Today, Apple is worth trillions of dollars, is one of the most powerful companies on Earth. But Apple wasn't always successful. In fact, the company almost went bankrupt. So, how did a small company started in a garage become one of the biggest companies in history? This is the incredible story of Apple. Chapter 1. The Beginning. The story begins in 1976 in California. Two young men, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, wanted to make computers simple enough for ordinary people to use. At that time, computers were expensive, large, and mostly used by businesses. They started building computers inside a garage. Together, they created the Apple I. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to attract attention. Soon after, they launched the Apple II. The Apple II became a huge success and helped Apple become one of the fastest-growing companies in America. Chapter 2. Success creates problems. As Apple became bigger, new challenges appeared. The company hired executives to manage its rapid growth. However, disagreements started happening inside the company. Steve Jobs had ambitious ideas, but many executives thought he was difficult to work with. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh. It introduced a graphical interface that changed personal computing forever. But sales were weaker than expected. Tensions increased. In 1985, Steve Jobs was pushed out of the company he helped create. Imagine being fired from your own company. For Apple, this would become one of the biggest mistakes in business history. Chapter 3. Apple's Dark Years. Without Steve Jobs, Apple struggled. The company released too many confusing products. Competitors like Microsoft dominated the computer market. Apple lost money. Customers became confused. By the mid-1990s, Apple was dangerously close to collapse. Some experts believed Apple wouldn't survive. The future looked uncertain. Then, everything changed. Chapter 4. Steve Jobs returns. In 1997, Apple made a bold decision. It brought Steve Jobs back. When he returned, he simplified everything. He canceled dozens of products. His philosophy was simple: make fewer products, but make them exceptional. He focused on design, simplicity, and user experience. This decision completely transformed Apple's future. Chapter 5. The iPod Revolution. In 2001, Apple launched the iPod. At that time, carrying thousands of songs in your pocket sounded impossible. Apple made it possible. Then, it launched iTunes. Together, they changed the music industry forever. Millions of people suddenly became Apple customers. But Apple wasn't finished. Its biggest innovation was still coming. Chapter 6. The iPhone changes everything. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced the iPhone. It wasn't just a phone. It was an iPod, an internet device, and a phone all combined into one product. Many people were skeptical, but they were wrong. The iPhone completely transformed modern life. Today, billions of people use smartphones because of this revolution. The App Store created millions of jobs worldwide. Entire industries were born because of the iPhone. Chapter 7. Apple's Secret Formula. So, what is Apple's secret? First, simplicity. Apple removes unnecessary complexity. Second, design. Apple products are designed to feel premium. Third, ecosystem. The iPhone, Apple Watch, AirPods, iPad, and Mac all work together seamlessly. Fourth, branding. Apple doesn't just sell technology, it sells an experience. Customers aren't buying devices, they're buying convenience. Conclusion. Apple's journey teaches us an important lesson. Success is not a straight line. The company faced failures, criticism, and near bankruptcy. But great companies adapt. From a small garage in California to one of the most valuable companies on Earth, Apple proved that innovation can change the world. And perhaps the most surprising part is this: one man's return saved an entire company. The story of Apple isn't just about technology. It's about vision, persistence, and the courage to think differently. Because sometimes, changing the world starts inside a garage.